Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today we are talking running backs, one for every single round, rounds 1 through 12. So you might have more rounds than 12, but we're going to have one running back for you to target in all of them. You know, we've talked about my draft strategy last week. A lot of the times I'm not looking to take running back between rounds like 4 to 6, but for some of you guys that don't really love that strategy, I'm going to tell you some guys that I still do really like and that I still think you should be targeting this season. If you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to let me know. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video as well. I'd really appreciate it. Comment down below. What are those teams looking like? If you drafted any over the weekend, tell me when you're drafting, what pick you've got. Happy to help in any way that we can. But let's get to round 1 here. And it's one we've constantly talked about so far in the preseason is Bijan Robinson of the Atlanta Falcons. He comes into an opportunity here with this Atlanta team, one that you really haven't seen. I don't think we've seen at all from any rookie running back in the last 10 or so years when we've seen guys go as top 10 picks. But for Bijan, this is an offense that's run the ball more than any team in the last 10 seasons other than the 2019 Baltimore Ravens, but that was with Lamar Jackson running the ball 176 times that year. He's not going to have a mobile QB like Lamar Jackson this year. Desmond Ridder will not be that type of player as a running back, so the rushing volume here is insanely high. And already has the inside track on the third down role. We've seen that in the preseason as well. Tyler Algier is not a player that's going to be picking up a ton of receptions, and I was actually reading an article from The Athletic where they were projecting the opportunities for this offense and where the touches will go to, and he was projecting over 80 targets for Bijan Robinson this year, and if that happens, this is a player that can absolutely finish at the RB1 overall for a team that has a pretty light schedule in a really easy division, and when you invest an 8th overall pick into a running back, the last 5 top 10 picks at the running back position have also had RB11 or better fantasy finishes. I like a Zeke rookie season type finish for Bijan. I think he's going to see 300 touches on the year and one that will absolutely return on his first round ADP. Next up, we talked a little about Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard in round 2 is a smash play for me. Tony Pollard's going in a lot of different I was talking to some of my buddies who are drafting, asking me a little bit of advice. And Tony Pollard's a player that if you're drafting a league that's very heavy on the running back position, you might even have to grab him in round 1. I don't really love having to do that, but that'll mean you can get a great wide receiver in round 2. But Ezekiel Elliott leaves 12 touchdowns behind on 19 inside the 5 carries. There's a lot for Pollard to pick up here. He had just 7 inside the 5 carries last year. I think Zeke ranked 3rd, maybe even second in inside the 5 carries. And then you see the guys that are projected. Again, read another article from The Athletic. It looks like the guys that are going to claim the RB2, RB3 spots and make the roster are Deuce Vaughn and Rico Dowdle, 2 guys that are fairly undersized. Deuce Vaughn especially, obviously, we've all seen the videos from training camp. So he's in line to take over those touchdown scoring opportunities, and it kind of fits the mold for Mike McCarthy. The last time he was calling plays for an offense, his RB1 had a 71% usage rate. That's going to continue here for Pollard, and really a player that, in my mind, there's very little downside in taking this guy. Like the floor on him, in my mind, still a top 12 back, so I love him in round 2. In round 3, we're looking at Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals. We see, I think from what I've read from camp, it looks like Chris Evans will be the guy that looks to come in on that change of pace role and be the RB2 for this team and potentially eat into those receiving opportunities for Mixon. Probably not to the level that Pirine was last year with 50-plus targets, 38 receptions. But the good thing is nobody should eat into his red zone role. He had 17 inside the 5 carries, which was 3rd in the NFL. Didn't convert a lot of those into touchdowns. He only had 6 touchdowns, so that can definitely improve. And you're playing behind what will now be probably the best offensive line in Mixon's career, which it can help with those opportunities definitely going to get. And this is one of the league's highest scoring offenses. So in round 3, Mixon's a guy that if you're looking at a hero RB strategy, he's a player I'd still consider as a hero guy and just crushing wide receiver for the remaining parts of your rounds or any other position. Round 4 is Aaron Jones. The Packers make a quarterback change, and I really think there's a lot of ways that this could benefit him, not just with a first-year quarterback, maybe the potential of leaning more on the run game. But Rodgers was a player that really took away from a lot of opportunities for his running backs. He had the most deep ball pass attempts, completed just 34% of them. Threw him a ton, didn't complete very many of them. You're going to see that come down quite a bit this year. We were actually talking to a beat reporter for the Packers on our weekly or our daily Twitch show, Lines at Lunch, and he was telling us that, yeah, we were not going to see this type of volume in the deep passing game. And then as well, he also kind of mentioned that there's the potential of, hey, maybe Aaron Jones gets some more opportunities inside the 5 as well, because Rodgers was a guy who really liked to throw the ball a lot and check out of plays in the red zone. They had a 59% pass rate on plays inside the 5, and this is usually an area where you're much closer to 50%, probably well below 50% in pass rate for a lot of teams. This was number 1 in the league in pass rate inside the 5. So that volume could increase, and maybe less of it goes to A.J. Dillon and more to Aaron Jones, because Jones has been a good guy inside the 5 and scoring touchdowns, but Dillon's got the more prototypical body, but he hasn't been all that efficient. He wasn't very good last year. I think Jones has the potential here to increase his volume a little bit more and find a few more touchdowns as well. You'll definitely see him as being a guy that's getting into that 50-plus reception range too, with such a youthful wide receiver core. Round 5 for me is James Conner. Conner is in an offense here that I think is going to really need to run the football a lot and protect time of possession, because this defense is going to be terrible. They lose J.J. Watt. They lose Zach Allen. This defensive line is not going to be good. The secondary has problems. They need to stay on the field offensively, and Conner's the way to be able to do that, to chew clock, keep games tight. Conner was the RB5 in fantasy points per game after Kyler Murray's injury as well. He saw over 20 touches, over 100 all-purpose yards per game in that span as well. You see the coordinator change as well, with obviously Gannon comes as the head coach, hires Drew Petzing to be his offense coordinator, who worked with the Browns and the Vikings, working under Kevin Stefanski, in 2 high-volume, productive rushing offenses with the Browns and Vikings, with Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook. Conner's a guy who's proven to be very reliable and a player that can convert a ton of short yardage opportunities. He's had his big seasons from being able to get inside the 5 opportunities and score a ton, be really efficient there. One of the most efficient in the league over the last 3 seasons. I think Conner's a player that, although the offense is scary to get behind and you're worried about this team being in a lot of trailing game scripts, Conner's going to be the straw that stirs the drink here for as long as Kyler Murray is out. So I'm definitely considering him in round 5. In round 6, we're looking at the Denver Broncos. Actually, I have both of them here on my list, but we'll start with Javonte Williams, who's going in the 6th round. Sean Payton is the guy to look to for running backs in fantasy football. He's produced a top 15 running back now in 8 straight seasons dating back to 2014. And 7 of those 8 seasons, at least one of his running backs posted a top 10 finish amongst running backs in receptions. These running backs are going to be used at high volume on the ground, but they're also going to be used in the receiving game a ton. We saw it with Peyton in his stops with Mark Ingram, with Alvin Kamara. And I think in this particular situation as well, for Williams, you're getting a discount because of the ACL surgery. We haven't seen a lot of guys be able to return, be involved in the preseason and training camp, getting into contact drills pretty much right off the hop. That is great to see. And then I think that with Peyton coming in, you're also going to see this team lean more on the ground game. They signed Mike McGlinchey, who's an excellent run blocker. Who was the other? Was it Ben Powers? Both their guards they signed were excellent run blockers, not great pass blockers. I think this is a team that's going to accept what their identity is, and it's not putting the ball at Russell Wilson's hands. And Williams is going to be a benefactor of that if he's healthy. Round 7, I said I wouldn't talk about this guy anymore this preseason, but when making this list, I have to mention him. James Cook, running backs that post 50-plus receptions, have finished on average as the RB 11 in fantasy points per game in PPR format since 2019. That's a sample size of 40-plus backs. 43 receptions leave this offense from the running back position with Devin Singletary and with Nyheim Hines. Damian Harris and Latavius Murray are not good enough competition to be able to steal those opportunities from Cook, who had a 28% target rate, which is fantastic. Was top 3 at the position last year. So I like Cook. He's a very explosive player, averaged like 5.7 yards per carry last year. Harris could eat into his opportunities in the red zone and scoring touchdowns, no doubt, but he'll still return on his ADP, even if he can't score double-digit touchdowns this year. Round 8, I'm looking at Jamal Williams. The Saints have the league's easiest schedule. Their win total is set at 8.5. A lot of people expect them to be a team that wins the NFC South, and I'm not shocked to hear that whatsoever when you look at the division and you look at that schedule. Williams is going to get a head start on his role in this offense with Alvin Kamara missing 3 games, and we know what Williams' role is best suited to be. It's to score touchdowns for an offense that should have an easy schedule, should have an easy time scoring points. I like what that opportunity kind of lays out for us. We saw him convert his inside the 5 opportunities at a crazy high level last year with the Lions, scoring 17 touchdowns. I believe he was over a 50% touchdown rate, close to a 50%. I think it was like 47% on inside the 5 carries. So I think the Saints give him another opportunity to do that, and I think Kamara, his role will kind of be expected to be as a third down guy. He'll still get some early down work, but he won't be the guy they go to be physical at the line of scrimmage and converting short yardage opportunities. So I'm interested in Williams. I definitely want to take a flyer on him in round 8. In round 9, I mentioned I was going to talk about both of the running backs for the Denver Broncos. Now, I'm not drafting both of these guys, but if I don't get one, I would like to kind of have a piece of the other. P. Ryan had a solid change of pace role with the Bengals. It got better and better the last 3 seasons. He improved his targets each of those 3 seasons. Now he joins up with Sean Payton, obviously, but more importantly, Joe Lombardi. This is important for both of these guys Targeted his backs 178 times last season. That is league leading by a substantial margin. And for Perine, I think the opportunity will still be there as the RB2 to be able to get some volume as well and return on his ADP. But we mentioned Williams being a player that tore his ACL last year, and we're not sure where his health is going to completely be at, what percentage he is right now, and then what percentage of the share Williams has. And maybe they ensure that his role isn't too high and they give them a good split of opportunities. And Perine could be a player that in PPR formats could be a player you're really happy with if you kind of take the strategy of 0 RB, hero RB, a great target for you in those later rounds. As we get to the double-digit rounds, I'm looking at Jerick McKinnon. McKinnon is a player that last season posted 56 receptions and finished as the RB20, so had a really good year. We talked about running backs that post 50-plus receptions. They usually have really good seasons. And for McKinnon, which really interests me is that he's obviously going now as the running back 43. I'm not sure what it is people are really scared of here. Isaiah Pacheco's role increases. I don't think it increases that much in the receiving game or takes away from McKinnon. This is arguably an offense where there's less competition for targets because Juju Smith-Schuster's gone. Sky Moore was the wide receiver 4 or 5 in this offense, and now they're kind of asking him to be that wide receiver 1 right now with Kadarius Toney's injury. So I think there's an opportunity for McKinnon to really return on his ADP just based on the fact he's kind of being overlooked at the position, and it's an offense that, of course, is going to be really successful. Mahomes has proven that he doesn't need or rely on, doesn't need it, or will he rely on pushing the ball downfield? He's more than happy to take these underneath routes because this team has been really, really efficient on these types of plays as well, and McKinnon's a beneficiary of that. So definitely wanted to take a shot on in round 10. In the 11th round, Tank Bigsby is a perfect player for me. Bigsby is already eating into Etienne's role in the preseason. We saw them working with the ones in the final week, in week 3 here, just over the weekend, and he had a 36% share of snaps with this first-team offense. So he's eating into Etienne's role. He's not going to probably see as much receiving work as we'd like, but Etienne struggled in short yardage last year, didn't convert many touchdowns, just 3 touchdowns on 13 inside the 5 carries. This is the reason they drafted Tank Bigsby, and I think the fact they're already showing us this early into the preseason, and you look at the track record of rookies, even just Etienne last year, of their role growing as they get later into the season. If Etienne is not at that level that I would expect him, I don't expect him to be when it comes to scoring touchdowns, Bigsby's going to have value for you because this is going to be a top 10 scoring offense again. They could take another step because this is year 2 in Doug Peterson's offense. Bigsby is a player that could be the in line to be the most benefited from an offense that's scoring a lot of touchdowns and getting some of those easier scores. And finally, in round 12, we talked about 2 running backs on the Broncos. I'm going to talk about 2 running backs for the Falcons as well. Again, if you have Bijan, I'm not drafting Tyler Algier as a handcuff for him. I want handcuffs on other players. I want handcuffs for players that I don't currently have on my roster because I'm looking for the upside. Algier, though, I'm fine with taking even if I don't have Bijan Robinson. If I miss out on him, if I'm picking early or I'm picking late in the first round, then I probably won't have Bijan, and I'm absolutely looking to take Tyler Algier because he's an elite handcuff in and of itself because of how high a volume this rushing offense is. We saw his performance last year, eclipsing 1,000 yards, but he could have standalone value early in the season. He's probably going to have 150-plus carries. We mentioned the fact that rookies potentially have that build to an ultimate role later in the year, and early in the year it could be a little bit less. But in this offense, as what it is, Algier's going to have plenty of opportunities, and who knows, as that stocky, low center of gravity, he could be the guy over Bijan of short yardage, of some touchdowns, and Bijan's being played. He's going to have a 3-down role for sure, but there's going to be times when it's necessary to kind of give him some time off the field and play this 2-headed monster. So Algier still has standalone value in the 12th round. All right, those are my favorite running backs in each round of your fantasy football draft. Guys, again, if you did enjoy today's video, would really appreciate if you let me know by hitting that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel as well, because later this week, we're going to have content for the first week of the season. We're going to have players need to start. We're going to have wide receiver start sit, running back rankings. That's all coming very soon here as, again, we're like, 8-9 days away from the start of the season. Thursday night, Lions, Chiefs. So excited. Be sure again to lock in with us here, get those post notifications on, and we will see you tomorrow as we talk about wide receivers to target for each and every round. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.